Hi, it's the Lipstick Gal. Thanks so much for watching today. I wanted to do something that's been rumbling around in my mind for a little bit. And the idea is to revisit every single palette or product that I got as part of a collab. And I didn't think it was that much until I started separating it out and I was like, oh wow, there's a lot. So I thought we'd start a whole new series and just looking at collab products and why I bought them, and do I still use them, and are they still products that deserve a place in my collection. So before we get started today, thank you for watching, subscribe if you haven't, and let's get started. And what I wanted to talk about today were two palettes that come from somebody who's very near and dear to my heart, and it's Emily Noel. I love Emily so much. I've been watching her, boy, since she was still doing news, before she had kids, and it's been probably at least 8 or 9 years, almost since the beginning of her channel. Not since the very beginning, but pretty close, when it was mostly drugstore. And I never thought that Emily would be the sort of person who would be reviewing, you know, high-end products like Charlotte Tilbury or Hourglass. And I love that she does that because her style of review is my favorite. But when I found out she was coming out with a collab, I was like, yes! And here's what's interesting is I didn't have much from Makeup Revolution before the collab. Actually, I don't think I had a single thing from Makeup Revolution. It always, to me, had been that company that had been like duping Too Faced or other things, and I was kind of like, I don't know, not that interested. And then with this, it really made me take a second look at the company as a whole. So I thought we would just start by this. And this is the Needs palette. I'm going to be using these products here today, maybe a little bit of the more neutrally eye tones if I need that, but mostly I want to use the big palette for the eyes. All right, so as I grab brushes here to do some bronzing, I'm going to use this big brush. The one thing that I wish was easier, that this was a bigger pan, but you know, it is what it is. And I think when it's not on sale, it's like $15. So I'm like, well, that's awesome. It's a good price. But oh wow, yeah, it's colorful. I haven't really used this since it first came out, and I think a lot of it was this last summer. I got so much makeup all at once, and then the holidays came, and then I got more, and the next thing I knew, these products had basically gotten pushed to the back of a drawer. And I didn't intend for them to live in a drawer. I really wanted to see what I thought about them. And I forgot completely about them. And then I thought about this idea, boy, I have quite a few collab palettes. What are my thoughts on these? Some of these I haven't used in a long time. So I thought we'd kind of go through and see, are they good products? Are they really something that I can see the person who collabed with a company? Is this like true to their brand and their personal style? And I think that when it comes to Emily, I do really feel like the products that she came out with, the shades, the colors, they were so very carefully thought out. And I really do believe that they're very representative of her. Now, the one thing that I'm curious about, and because these are the only two Makeup Revolution products that I have, no, I do have one other thing. I need to know from you, if you know more about Makeup Revolution and you have these palettes, are these palettes representative of the makeup brand as a whole? Is the quality the same? Is the packaging the same? That sort of stuff. I feel like we got enough bronzer on. We might be able to move on to some blush. So the blush in here, I like that it's kind of like a peachy color. I think it's quite universal and it works well for more than just fair skin tones, but I do feel like this palette particularly really only works for maybe between fair, light, and medium. Much darker and you're not really going to be able to see these products. I know you can build up the highlight. I don't know about the contour. You can probably build it up, but to a certain point it's really not that dark. I do feel like this palette is like perfect for Emily's skin tone, and if you're similar in tone to her, it would work for you, which is why I think it works for me. I am just a bit fairer than she is, but I feel like it works well. Where's my favorite highlighting brush? I can never seem to use a different brush, and when I do, I'm like, no. So I have to find like my favorite brush. We're gonna tap it off. You know, this is not the glowiest glow there is, but it's really quite pretty. All right. And there are days that I want like an extreme glow, and then there are days that I want a more subtle glow like this. Maybe I should say a more realistic glow. Because in my everyday life, at the moment I'm a stay-at-home mom. I pick up my kids from school every day. We go grocery shopping to get last-minute things for dinner. I take them to their music lessons or appointments, or I don't do a lot outside of the house at the moment, although I am looking for a job. We'll see how that goes. But the idea is that I don't need really glamorous, exciting, go out makeup, because as a mom with 2 kids, I don't do a lot of that. I used to do a lot more, and then I had kids, and I love my children, and I wouldn't change it. But I feel like the season of my life has changed, and a more realistic glow from within highlight, as I keep layering it on. And you definitely can. You can layer it on. I feel like it's more appropriate to my everyday look. Oh, this palette, the Wants palette. I haven't used this but a handful of times, and I feel like it's a shame to say that because it's such a gorgeous palette. And I can really say that with all of these really berry tones in through here, it really does scream Emily Noel. It's just like, if I didn't know and I knew this was a collab, she'd be the first person I would think of. First of all, I know her love for berry eye looks, but it's just like all through here. So I'm going to start on the top row with kind of like a medium nudie pink shade. This one's called Prayer. I'm going to try really hard not to do what I normally do, because there are several shades in here that I've never dipped into. I feel like that's a travesty. If I don't drink that coffee soon, I'm going to have to go and zap it. And I hate drinking microwaved coffee. It's like the worst, so I better get on it. So here's what the eye look looks like without anything on it. I'm going to throw on some liner, lipstick, and mascara, and I'll be back to show you what I did to get this eye look. So I think this look is really pretty, and it kind of came together deciding to use shades that I had never used before. Like, once I could tell the pans were completely untouched, and I was like, that there are this many in here. And what's interesting is that they were greens, and they were more like warm, kind of burgundy type shades. And that's when I realized, at a conversation with my youngest daughter over the weekend, about the color wheel and how colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel are really complementary, and red and green happens to be opposite each other. And so these burgundy warm shades, I did put some plummy tones with Pi Phi in there, and then that minty green shade, it's fun. It really is. I started out with a color right here called Prayer that I use every single time I dip into this palette, and I was like, nope, you're not going to do a look you always do. You're going to do something different. You're going to use colors you've never used before. So the rest of the look comes from, I put some of this shade here, which is Cheer, kind of in the outer corner and in the crease. And then I darkened it up with some of Pi Phi. So these two colors had never been into before. And I really like the plummy look that Pi Phi gives without getting to be too dark. Then I threw in some of this kind of limey green. This is called Grateful. I like that. I threw that kind of on the inner corner out to like mid lid. And then I decided to put a little bit of Good Vibes kind of like in the middle of the lid to kind of blend the Pi Phi into this green color. So these two kind of overlap just a little bit. But when I look at it, I'm like, wow, all of these are colors that I had never been into before, and they're really, really beautiful. But it's probably not something I would have done on my own had I not forced myself to use shades. Because after putting that first one, I'm like, I use this shade all the time. I can't just keep going in with the shades I always use something different. So overall on the palette, I like the mattes. I like how they blend. I like that they blend well, and that I feel like if I overdid it a little bit somewhere, I could very easily just keep blending and it would really lighten up, which means that they're layerable. I feel like the shimmer shades, they're layerable too. They don't apply well for me with a brush, so I had to go in with my finger, which is what I normally do. But when I go in with a finger on a shimmer shade, it's because I really want that high impact shimmer. And these are pretty and they're shimmery, but they're not a really high impact shimmer. They're not the sort where they steal the show of the eye look. And I was kind of hoping maybe to get to that point. Overall, they work really well together. I feel like what I'm really going to look for and enjoy are some of those warmer, more colorful matte shades. And I think that you can obviously get a complete and total eye look out of that palette, as well as out of the smaller palette if you're just wanting to use this on the eyes as well. They both work really well, but I feel like for me, it's the mattes that really kind of draw me in. I like a little bit more shimmer, a little bit more glimmer, a little bit more punch to those more metallic shades. And I feel like the shimmery eyeshadows are very much like the highlighter in here, where you can see it and it's pretty, but it's not that pow right in the face. Which doesn't mean it's not good, it just means it's different. And I like to keep maybe a more subtle highlight here, but I really want the eyes. If I'm going to put a shimmer on there, I want to see it. And not that I can't see this, it's just not the same level of impact I was hoping for. But I do think it's a good palette, and I am kind of re-inspired to keep playing with it. I think that both of these, I have used this one a lot more because it's easy to grab a palette and do your whole face. I am so drawn into palettes that have a small set of eye colors and stuff that works well for my face. So I have used the Needs palette a lot more. The Wants palette is one that I thought, let's really play around and see what sort of a look we can get. But that's what this is. Let me know if this sort of idea is interesting to you as I continue to go through a lot of my other collabs. If there's one that you know that I have that you're interested in seeing, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll leave my Instagram link in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.